Being here with his orchestra here, we're going to see a couple of really nice performances tonight. Before we get started, I want to tell you about the Kelly Center here. We have a relationship with our Community Cup Coffee. Our Community Cup employs individuals with disabilities that grinds, roasts, and packages coffee that we sell here to help them and to help us. It's a Guatemalan coffee. It's ground. It's a full 16-ounce pound, and we sell it for $15. We call ours the Kelly Center Irish Coffee, whiskey not included. So if you'd like to grab a pound on your way out tonight, we have some here at the counter, and you can pick it up over here. We accept Venmo, cash, check, whatever, credit card, whatever you have. But thank you all for being here again tonight. I want to introduce Amanda, who's going to make some opening announcements before we get started. Thank you again.
A bit of a tight squeeze tonight. We have a lot of musicians here. Well, welcome to the Kelly Center. I'm Amanda. Do we have any first-timers in the room? The first time at the Kelly Center? Okay, great. Welcome. Well, Kelly Music for Life is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have programs for children, teens, and adults, and you can also rent the space for private events. We are participating in Delco Gives Day. A portion of all proceeds from our events through May 9th will count toward Kelly Music for Life's Delco Gives fundraising totals. Delco Gives, May 8th to 9th, is a day of giving hosted by the Foundation for Delaware County to support nonprofit organizations serving Delaware County. So your support of tonight's event is helping us reach our Delco Gives fundraising goals. So thank you. We have chair pads in the back if you need them. And we also have a snack and drink vending machine in the back corner. We are BYOB here at the Kelly Center. We just asked for a $5 donation per drinker. So thank you to those of you who have already done that. Just some housekeeping notes. Our restrooms are right back there. The hand dryers, though, are very loud, so please use paper towels during the show. And the Kelly Center is a listening room. It is a true listening room, which is what I love most about it. So unlike at a bar or other places where you have to struggle over people talking, to hear the music, you can actually hear the music and enjoy the music. So please silence your phones, and if you need to make or take a phone call, you can step outside. Education and experience are central missions to the Kelly Center. With your support, we give performance opportunities to young people on our student stage events. So far, we have given live performance opportunities on the Kelly Center stage to over 200 students, which we're very proud of. Thank you, yeah. It's a big part of our mission to do that. We are also training and hiring students interested in audio-video technology and event management. Tonight, our student AV techs are Ella, Katie, Emily, and Aster. Katie's also helping out at the door, and our student show manager is Emily Grimm. So they're doing a wonderful job tonight. Yeah. We usually have Artists of the Month or months here at the Kelly Center, and you can see there's a lot of beautiful artwork hanging up here. The Artists for the Month for March and April were students in the Haverford High School's National Art Honor Society. We have free open jams here at the Kelly Center. We have bluegrass jams, Django Jazz Jam, Irish Trad sessions, and open mic nights. And you can find out all about those at kellycenter.org. Thank you to our April show sponsor, Joel Perlish Photography. We have some great upcoming shows. Saturday, April 26th, we have some young rock bands here, Bench Stealers and Derivative Band. And then okay. So people representing for a derivative band, it sounds like. And on May 3rd, a fun night of laughs with the Delco Improv Group. We're always adding new shows. You can sign up to get our concert announcements and schedule updates at kellycenter.org. We have a great program here called Coffee on the Path, where they sell coffee and baked goods from the Haverford High School PATH students with disabilities. That is 2 mornings a week. It's Wednesday and Thursdays on school days, 8:30 to 10:30. The PATH program prepares students with disabilities to transition to career life after high school. So stop by and see them if you're around during those times. We really appreciate your support and your donations. You can do that through our cash jars, Venmo, PayPal, the QR codes that are hanging around the room, or you can go to kellycenter.org and click contribute. Joel Perlish Photography is the official photography for our Kelly events, and we have over 45,000 photos from Joel on our website, and he's been to every event, which is great. But now, for the music. He has brought his students to our music festival stages over the past 10 years in Havertown, as has performed on the Kelly Center stage. Led by an amazing mentor and teacher, please welcome them to the Kelly Center stage in Havertown, Pennsylvania, Michael Fein and the Haverford High School Big Band and Jazz Combo.
All right. Thanks so much for coming out tonight. We're so happy to be performing in the community. We're going to open up with our jazz combo, and Ian's going to be taking the mic, doing all the announcing. So I'm going to turn it over to Ian.
I don't need the mic. I'm fine. You got it. Have it. You're gonna say hi.
Hello, we are the Haverford High School Jazz Combo. We've been practicing rehearsing since November, after or before jazz ensemble practices. We have Cameron on the keys. Sam on the drums. Michael on the saxophone. Julian Fein on bass. And then me on trumpet, Ian. So let's get to the music. that was Pen of House by Sonny Rollins. Next up, we have Tree Stay.
This is a Latin tune. It's going to start off with a little intro out front. You'll see what
Next up, we have Joy Spring by Clifford Brown. This is probably one of the harder tunes we've worked on this year. It took us a while to really get it down, but once we did, it's sounding really good. So we'll prove it for you guys.
For our last song, we will be playing Sister Sadie. This is Horace Silver, right? Yes. Horace Silver. This is one of our first songs we played. So.
Thank you. I don't know what to say.
We're gonna do a quick switch over to the big band.
Over.
Thank you. Back 10-minute intermission. All right.
You want to tune up that snare? Lenny, are you safe? I was like going a second. Hey, do you want me to organize the things in order?
It's my bod, cocktail, here. Actually, it's on the email. That is the order.
I just take it out. I just take it out. I tried to sign up out.
I think it has everything. I don't know why it's at the very end. Last Nope.
Ella. Sound check on the bass. Still nothing? Thank you.
High five. God, pretty old Jackie Bear. Mr. Fein, grab me a chair.
Oh, yeah, you missed something. Dude, listen. If I had to guess, it's probably too pissed to do anything to us.
Great job, Bob. Thank you for the Keyboard. Were you gonna DI? If I was to pick one, it's DI. I probably would.
And also, do one chord. Only one set.
XLR. Guys, look up at Joel. He's gonna take a quick picture.
right, let's get this started. So now we're going to transition here. This is the Haverford High School Jazz Ensemble, our big band. Give a round of applause for these folks. We're going to start off with High Five, a tune written by famous big band composer Sammy Nestico. We're going to feature number soloists Cameron, Max, Mike, Aiden, Sam. Julian, you got a solo on this too, I think, right?
Yes.
Short one? I think that's it. Here we go. High five.
Hand out front. A one, a two, a one, two, a three, four.
Thank
All right, that was high five. How about for all those soloists playing the blues? All right, we're gonna transition to one of our more up-tempo tunes. This is a Duke Ellington classic called Cottontail.
One, two, three, and.
All right. How about that saxophone section? That's no joke right there. and Graff on the trumpet, I think, had us over there, right? All right. Cameron, Julie, Michael, Jackson. Yeah. All right. All right, we're going to continue with another Duke Ellington tune. We play a lot of Duke Ellington, try to play a lot of the classics. It's kind of an old soul. I love the old big band stuff, old Basie, old Ellington, old Thad Jones. So music that was composed at least 50 years ago or more generally. It's kind of our wheelhouse. So we're going to do another Duke Ellington tune. This one's called Jack the Bear. We're going to feature Julian on the bass along with many others.
A one, two, three.
All right, Julian the Bear there. Julian the Bear. We also had Maya Schmidt, Max Kronholm, and Aiden Lee on the trombone.
Blues a la machito.
We have such a fine rhythm section. There's so many great students, so we're switching up to make sure to get all these fine players a chance to play. You're gonna get to hear the bass talents here, Mr. James Fingerhook. Gabe, this is your first tune right here. Gabe Elsasser and Tyler Madden.
Everybody good? All right. This is Blues a la Machito. A one, a two, a one, a two, three.
Blues a la Machito. How about that rhythm section? Again, Mike and Max straight in there. Really nice. All right, we're going to go to something a little bit more modern. This is a tune written by a great saxophonist named Bob Minster. I remember when I was their age working through some Bob Minster jazz etude books. He's been a really well-known jazz clinician, jazz educator, jazz performer, and composer of tunes. Bob Minster's just a jazz great, still around. And actually, Dr. Shanefield, one of our instrumental teachers, saw him in the airport this year traveling to a conference. So he's still out there teaching kids jazz and really involved in the music. So this one's called Slow Funk. I think we're gonna feature Ian, Cameron, Mike, and Oliver. Not necessarily in that order though, right? It's in my notes. All right, Slow Funk. And we got Sam Vogley in the back here, keeping it funky.
Good, Sammy? Here we go. One, a two, a one, two, a one, two, three.
Funk by Bob Minster. We had Oliver, Mike, Cameron, and Ian. How about them soloists? All right, this year we've done some tunes by this arranger, Bill Holman. This is one of our tunes that we're doing. I think Old Man River's Bill Holman too, right? Yes? Yep. So we're doing a couple of tunes by him. And I think I found out at Westchester University they have a big library of Bill Holman tunes. They played a few Bill Holman tunes for the first ever District 12 PMEA Jazz Ensemble. We had 3 members of that group, Julian, Ian, and Jackson were all in that ensemble. So how about for those players? All right, Too Close for Comfort. Gabe's gonna lead the way here, right?
No problem. I'm out of banter, so tell a joke.
All joke, yeah.
The dinner player walks into the bar, but his low C key's messed up. Then he takes it to the repair guy. Gets it fixed. That's the end of the joke.
That's not a very funny joke.
James, you good? No joke.
I was just
Here we go. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3.
right, too close for comfort. How about that trombone section in the beginning there? Finley, Aiden, Oliver, yep. All right, and some tasty Max Kronholm there, right? Little Max, little Mike. Yeah, that's tasty. Max plays the Barry, great. I would tell Max he was born to play Barry. He's got the attitude of a Barry player, plays it big. He asked me the other day, he said, "So was I playing that part too loud?" You can never play Barry too loud. Barry should just have the dynamic double forte the whole time. You just put a lot of air through it, yeah. Anyway. All right, we're going to go with another tune here. This is a more modern tune. It's performed by the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra that is headed by Wynton Marsalis. They're one of my favorite big bands. They play a lot of older tunes, and the newer tunes they play always have kind of like an old feel. So this is a fun one. This one's called The Shot. It does start with a countdown because it's all about basketball. This whole album was about basketball. So we're counting down to the buzzer here.
Ready? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Victor Goins, right? That tune? Victor Goins?
Yes.
Yeah, Victor Goins, great saxophone player in the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra. That whole album is great. It's called The Rock Chalk Suite. Definitely want to stream on Spotify or however you enjoy music. I do Spotify. All right, we're going to go to the Thad Jones Mel Lewis Orchestra. This ensemble is still alive and well in New York City. They play at the Village Vanguard every Monday night. It's a bucket list place to go see this big band play. We had a couple guests from that ensemble. Gary Simoleon, their Barry sax player, has been down as our Evening of Jazz guest artist. We've had Dick Oates, saxophone player. Is there anybody else from Vanguard that we've got? I think that's it. Yeah, they're a fantastic group. Can't wait to get up and see them on a Monday night. So this tune was written by Thad. Thad used to play in the Basie band. He's actually the brother of Quincy Jones, if you know Quincy Jones, of course. So Thad Jones is, maybe we'll say, the slightly more talented brother. Equally talented brother. And so Thad started doing some more contemporary things, some rock things, and Basie wasn't having it. So Thad started his own group. And so we're going to be playing Us.
Let's do that drum solo too. Okay.
Cool. We're going to feature Gabe on this.
Will we get to G and H? Yeah, just like at rehearsal.
Wait, what's happening?
We're gonna add that drum solo. It's gonna be great. Watch me. Oh, one, two, oh, one, two, three, and.
much. That was us. How about Gabe Elsasser? That drum solo was installed 24 hours ago. But it was a great idea, right? Yeah. Had to feature Gabe, one of our graduating seniors. We're going to play our last tune. Feature another one of our graduating seniors, Jackson Lott, on the kit. Yeah. Give it up for Jackson. And I want to send a big thank you to Kelly Music Center and Tom Kelly, been supporting our jazz program for so many years. You know, I saw Tom one time at Mary Place painting the playground. You know, they do like the cleanup days. That's all you got to know about Tom. All about the Havertown community. He's done so much good for this community, both in terms of music and just our whole community. So big round of applause for Tom and Kelly Music Center. Yeah, so in addition, so we'll get back to this too. So we're going to wrap up our set with Old Man River. Like I said, Jackson Lott. And let's not forget our good friend, Dr. Lips, Lenny Cinto on the tenor saxophone. Old Man River. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Yeah, lips.
One, two. It's a little brag, but it's okay. One, two, one, two, three.
Great. Thank you, Michael Fein and the Haverford High School Big Band and Jazz Combo. What a great job. By the way, we are going to have the full concert available for you on YouTube. We should be able to have the link for you by tomorrow. We'll send it to Mr. Fein, and then he can pass it along to you. To support the Kelly Center with a donation, we have cash jars, Venmo, PayPal, credit card, QR codes around the room, or you can go to kellycenter.org and click contribute. Thank you to tonight's sound and video tech, Ella, Emily, and Aster, and student show managers Emily Grimm and Katie at the door there. They all did a great job. On behalf of Tom and Sherry Kelly and Paul and Susan Kelly, thank you for joining us tonight. Please help us clean up. We have trash and recycling containers by the door as you exit. From the Kelly Center for Music, Arts, and Community in Havertown, Pennsylvania, I'm Amanda. Stay safe, play it forward, and good night. Thank you for coming. Great job, guys.